welcome to Susie Davis's drawing tutorial, developing on the drawing skills that we learnt last week on Norman Cornish's work. In this session, we are going to be using colour to develop visual form in the style of Norman Cornish. So going back to our painting of the two barmen with the dog and remembering how we looked at composition, the arrangements of shapes in the picture, the basic shapes, using outline and then working over it with a drawing tool. This week we are going to develop it by using blocks of colour. So we aren't going to start off with an outline, but we are still going to look at the composition. So that being narrow at the top and wider at the bottom, looking at the shape of the barmen and looking at the picture. Norman Cornish uses a range of colours in his scenes. He uses warm colours for the bar, cosy scenes, and contrasts them with the sort of more pale, colder colours of the street scenes and the pit scenes. So if I take you back to the bar scene, where we have sort of pale, warmer colours, sort of brown tones, I'm going to use a range of chalks to do this. You can use it in paint if you'd like. And I'm going to start looking at the basic shapes. Again, looking at the hat, looking at the coats and the trousers and the dog. Using my triangle for the overall shape, I'm going to start with the lightest colour and start to block out the basic shapes. So we have the hat, we have the barman's jacket, the top. Again, sort of a bit like a triangle shape like we used last time. You can still use a pencil for an outline if you want to, but by putting in the blocks of colour first, we create that sense of movement and shape, which we're then going to work into with line. So we've got one barman in, and we've got a second barman in. Again, now at the top, jacket comes down, leaning at the bar. We have these shapes. Doesn't matter if you don't fit the whole picture in. The idea is about having a play and using the tools and learning and not being worried about making mistakes, as we can always work back into it with other colours. Chalks are very soft, so we'll blend and we'll smudge if you want them to. Okay, so I'm quite happy with my basic shapes, quite similar to the example there and the ones that you can see in the bar scene. Also remembering that the shapes make up the composition of the two men in the bar. Now I'm going to add some warmer colours to this. So my palette is browns and yellows, maybe with a hint of orange. Again, you can use with paints. And we layer the blocks of colour up from light to dark. So looking at my picture here, I'm going to start to put in some darker tones by adding a bit of yellow over the top. You can be experimental with this. People see colour differently. I've gone with my warm shades. You might use a different selection of browns depending what you've got. So add my yellow in next, layering it up, giving that a bit of warmth. Lightest colours on the shoulders, on the top of the hat, and on the jacket. Again, sketching, use your chalks on the side. If you use it on the edge, you create more of a line. Quite a nice effect. And layering up those colours, we can develop that shape. Okay. I'll go with a bit of pink for the face. Again, just pushing my chalk across because it being very soft means that the colour will easily add to the paper. Nice bright bit on the shoulders. So we'll make that light. Because remember, contrasting dark and light gives it that 3D shape. Okay, see how I'm just being very loose and sketchy with my tools. Now I'm going to add a hint of dark colour on. So where we've got darker colours, sort of down the edge of the jacket, on the arm, we've got it on the hair, just under the cap. So we can put that in. And on the other side, add the hint of colour for the hair, and we can put into the jacket, the edges. So blocks of colour, which we are then going to work back into with a bit of heavy outline. Remember, visual form and shapes created by colour, and then developing that shape by adding outline. We'll put a little bit on the trousers. Again, if you use the point of your chalk, you can get some sharper lines in. Use the side, you get a bit of texture, and it kind of blends naturally. You don't have to do a lot of smudging. You can smudge chalk as it's like powder, but there's no need to do that. You can just use it too. So we've got different blocks of colour to make the overall shape. I'm quite happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get, I can either use a very dark brown if you've gone with the warm colours, okay, or you can go with your black. Yes, it's up to you. Remember, you don't have to press on hard, because at the end of the day it is very soft. And we are just sharpening up the shapes with our sketchy broken outline so that we can see the figures. Yep. So we can see the shadows under the jacket to make it a bit more 3D. Okay, under the arms and around. Then we've got the creases and folds in the trousers. Again, you don't have to add a lot. If you just add bits, it gives it that sense of movement, you know, be very sort of fluid. Remember, we're not colouring in. That's why we started off with the blocks of colour first. So we've, instead of the outline, we've gone straight with the colours by looking at the basic shapes, and then we've worked over those shapes with a darker tool.